So the more strength that you develop with your external body, the more disconnected you are with the inside. Okay, so there's no way you can communicate with anybody when there's like a thick wall, right? I mean, it just blocks the communication, right? And until you start, adjusting the quality of the wall and make it softer somehow, right? Change the material. So your body, your physical body, the material itself, the quality of this material body is going to change over time. Okay, if you are working on it to make this change, it's going to be slow. Okay, so beginning more muscles. More muscles. Yeah, more muscles. And over time, less muscles. Less muscles. Right? And then when you're not using muscles, you're using more joints, more tendons, ligaments, fascia. Okay? And then gradually, your dantian is doing the work. Right? It goes, because the dantian, the lower dantian is the center of your whole body. And that's the hardest area to communicate with. Okay, because it's in the middle of everywhere. So if anything on the surface level, it's easy to communicate. Right, skin, you can touch. Right, you're communicating as you're touching your skin. Muscles, as you do some workouts, weight training, right, you're interacting with the muscle, you're communicating with your muscles, right? That's also easy to communicate with, right? And whereas your joints, your tendons, your ligaments, they're deeper inside, so a little bit harder to communicate with, right? And also the fascia. So, right, the whole material body has layers until it gets to the joints, to the bones, and then inside the bones there's space, right? And there's bone marrow that's in that space. So bone itself is not just, there's no space inside, right? It's hollow inside. Okay, that's where, when you cook meat, right, with bones, you can see on the inside is hollow, right? There are things inside, soft materials inside, right? That's the space inside the bone, and that's when there's soft material, the bone marrow. Okay, and that's like the hardest to communicate, right? Because so deep inside. And then dantian too is the center of everything, and to be able to activate your dantian and allow the dantian to help the body to move takes more effort, more deeper communication is needed. And to make that deep connection, deep communication, you have to soften the outside. Okay, but here's the thing, to soften the outside, it doesn't mean that you just don't use any force, right? And then you just do it like this, no force at all, and over time you be able to establish that connection. No. If that's the case, then you can just sit on the couch all day. That wouldn't do anything to help you, right? So to work on the inside, you have to soften the outside, but to soften the outside requires a lot of hard work. A lot of strength is required to soften the outside. So, which means you do need to use more strength to begin with, more muscular strength to begin with, right? But not stiff. And then over time, as you apply more strength, the muscles will start become more relaxed, more elastic, and then gradually becomes more like sponge feeling, and it goes inside deeper, deeper, but not like this kind of strength. No, then that's not good. Yeah.
A little bit of strength training is okay.
Little bit of strength training. Over time, it should be less. Less.
Okay.
Yeah, the harder the wall, the less communication.
Yeah. Block the meridians, right?
Yeah, block the meridian. So this wall is a dry wall, right? If you have a concrete wall, it means that you're not getting through any communication at all. Right, a concrete wall wouldn't allow you to hear anything from the other side. But a dry wall, because there's space inside, so if you talk loudly, people in the other room can still hear you. So there's some communication. But if you remove the dry wall and you put some other more elastic, softer material, then you'll be able to communicate. Yes, but to change the quality, the material of the wall, it takes hard work, takes strength. Yeah, it's like digging through a tunnel. Once the tunnel is cleared, like the whole path is cleared, then it's effortless to go through the tunnel. But before you're able to create that space, to create a whole tunnel, you have to really, you apply a lot of strength to dig, create more space. Yeah, get rid of more of the material in front of you, right? Yeah, that's hard work, strength. But once it's cleared, then there's no effort. Then there's less strength. Less strength.
Yes. So you're using the strength, the muscular force to go in, to change the material itself so that it softens and over time becomes sponge-like, and then ultimately you won't need to use that strength
to
reach the same level, and you can twist on that level.
Yeah, so that's right. So the goal of applying strength, the strength itself is not the goal. But the goal is the tool to help you to go inside. So if the goal is I want to make my muscles bigger, I want to make my muscles harder, I want to make my muscles to show more definition, that goal would over time make you more stiff. Okay, that's not, if you want, if that's your goal, that's fine. But for internal training, applying strength is not for that goal. Applying strength is for the goal of softening the muscles and then be able to go deeper inside to create that communication. What's best for fighting? It really depends, when you talk about developing the body mechanics for fighting, right? And you observe like nowadays, fighters that they're all very muscular. But if you look at, the fighters in the earlier generations, so some of the fighters that their body is not as muscular as the fighters nowadays. Okay, so if you're thinking about absolutely like winning fights, maybe pure strength and pure athleticism and youth would be the best thing. But if you're thinking about mastering the art, as a fighting art, then what is important is like, do you have mastery of the body? Right? Having mastery of the body doesn't necessarily mean that you're just definitely going to win fights. Right? So I think it's really, really about objectives here. Like, what is your goal? Right? Like some fighters, all they care about just winning and making money, and some fighters, they're thinking about mastery of the martial arts, the fighting arts. Right? So if you look at fighters that are, counter-strikers, their body has to be more elusive, right? More sponge-like quality to it. Right? That's because they're counter fighters, and to counter fight, it means that any attacks they have to think about observing. They're not thinking about blocking. They're thinking about observing. So to absorb the force, you need to have elastic body. right? If you're thinking about, I just want to knock somebody out, just knock somebody out, then you need more strength, absolute strength, absolute power. Okay, yeah, like strong muscles. Okay, but if you want something more softer, right? Like, you know, more softer, right? So it's a different body mechanics, you know. Right, so for example, if you want to throw a punch, right, if thinking about like just strength and athleticism, then you're thinking about blocking, right? You punch, I block. You punch, I block, right? You punch the other hand, I block, right? I block. And then after I block, then I counter, right? Block, counter, right? Whereas, you know, this quality is different. You punch, yeah, it's different. It's not blocking. It's a different concept. Right, you punch, different quality too. Right? Yeah. It's not only for winning fights. You know, it really depends, like which is better. But over time, as you get better and better, you have to think about, I need to create mastery of the arts that I do. Right? It's no longer just, can I beat somebody up? Yeah. Right? How do I become more efficient? How, when somebody throws a punch, I'm reducing the impact that I'm receiving. That's important. Right? And really, the thing that can neutralize, absorb force is when something that has a sponge-like quality. Right, like a spider web. Right, if a train hits like a large spider web, like, you know, in the movies, you know, comics, that it will just absorb that because it's not a hard quality. It's sponge-like quality. So when you throw a punch, right, throws a punch, right, it's not, I'm trying to block the punch with my strength and athleticism. You punch, yeah, you take it in. Yeah, and the more sponge quality you develop, the deeper the sponge quality you develop, the more you're able to absorb, and the less impact you're receiving. So you punch, fist, fist, punch. Right, this is blocking. Right, blocking means the more muscles, the harder the muscles, the better it is for blocking. Now you punch, right? Different quality. Yeah, and through push hands, right, other foot. Right, push hand helps you to develop that quality if you know what you're doing. You push hand just like this, you know, I try to push you, you try to push me, let's see who can push better, push. Right, that's competition. That's not going to help you develop that quality, push, push, push. So whoever has stronger structure or bigger is going to outpower the other person.
Till you get tired. Till it gets tired.
Well, one is to get tired, and second is if you have more, if you can just outpower the other person, like either because you're stronger or because you have a stronger structure or you're bigger, so you outpower the other person. But that's not mastering an art. That's not understanding your body. So here, push. Try to push. Right? That's because now it's harder for you to outpower. When you try to outpower something that has the softer quality to it, it's not going to work as effectively as you want. For what reason? So you push, push, push. Let's see who's stronger. Push, push. He's bigger than me, and he has a lot of strength, and you have even more strength as a fighter, right? So both of you would be able to outpower me just based on the structure. You see, immediately I'm getting pushed. Even I try to match his strength. He is bigger than me and muscularly stronger than me. Same, you too, right? Push, really push me. I really cannot match your strength, right? But then that's because you're pushing against the structure, right? So whoever has the stronger structure will just outpush the other person with a weaker structure. Okay, but then now you're thinking about you're no longer pushing against the structure, you're pushing a sponge. Where does your force go when you're pushing a sponge? You don't know, right? Yeah, when you push against an object that has a structure, you know where the force is going. Like if a car is not working and you push it from behind, if there's enough people, there's enough strength, the car will move. Because you know where the force is going, and you're directing that force onto that object. And it's very clear. Okay, you just push forward and the car would move. Now, pushing against a sponge, you don't know where your force is going. So if you don't know where your force is going, where it's leading to, how do you push? So it means that the softer the sponge, the harder it is for you to understand where you're pushing. So now push. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not because I'm stronger. It's just that you don't know where your force is going. Yes. And that's the same thing when we're talking about like fighting, boxing, kickboxing, or jiu-jitsu too, right? Even though I don't do much jiu-jitsu, it's the same concept that when we're fighting, right? You know that when you throw the punch, if I'm strong enough, I will take that punch, and you know that where the impact is going. So, and you know, like if you apply more force, you have a good timing, good distance, it's going to create an impact, mm-hmm. right? If I punch here, you know that it's creating an impact, mm-hmm. okay? But then, whereas when you punch, yeah, punch, right, where is his force going? Mm-hmm. Where's the impact? Does the force land somewhere that creates this penetrating impact?
No.
No. When you punch a sponge, when you punch a wall, you know that if you punch hard enough, it may break a drywall. When you punch a window hard enough, it may break the window. But when you punch a sponge, or when you punch a dough, right, flour mixed with water, when it's mixed well enough, when you punch the dough, or when you punch a sponge, what is the impact? Right, so counter-strikers that have really good control of the body and establish really good body mechanics, that's the feeling that they're getting. Right, you see some boxers or kickboxers, when they're getting hit, they just do such things. But if your body is like a wall, you do such things like, just, we're not really fighting, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're trying to punch me and I'm trying to do this, and my body is like a wall. Yeah, very rigid. And if you just go forward more, boom, I'm going to fall, right? Because a wall is rigid. When the wall leans in any direction, if you just go even more forward, it will just break the wall. Because the wall does not have the ability to absorb the force and does not have the ability to, like, if you're throwing a punch and your body's like a wall and then it keeps going, there's no more room to maneuver, so it would only fall, right? So if we do slow motion, you throw that punch right here, right? Throw that punch. I'm not trying to dodge like this, boom, I'm going down. Okay, but if you're trying to punch in slow motion, right, so the body, right, punch, yeah, so that's how the whole body becomes connected. The whole body is like a big rubber band, right? Big rubber band. But then, with internal, not only that you develop this rubber band, you also develop the center. Fighters who have this quality, that they don't necessarily develop this center, this energy center. But internal martial arts does not only the whole rubber band effect, but also the center. And this center is for longevity. Yet, to connect your whole body physically for martial arts, but more importantly, this center and this energy center is going to improve your health. Right? Connect your mind, connect your body, open your meridians. All of that requires this center, and also controls the movement of the body.